Coming live from the Six Pack Campers mobile recording studio and community development center. This is the Small Truck Campers podcast, episode 18. I am so thrilled for y'all to join me. We got a lot of good stuff to cover on this episode. So why don't you grab your favorite campfire beverage and let's hit the road. All right, episode 18. Thanks so much for joining me. We have some great stuff to cover, and I'm so excited to have our guest on here shortly. You know, this community is so cool. There's not a whole lot of barriers to entry to start a company. You know, most companies are formed kind of in the garage with just someone tinkering or kind of welding or bolting things together. Secondly, because campers are so big and hard to ship, there hasn't been a whole like Amazon, Alibaba kind of influx of campers. So most, if not all, campers are made in America. So that's like cool because you don't have it just saturated with overseas stuff. We're kind of keeping it in-house here in the country. So that's cool. And thirdly, all these people have really cool stories and they're all tied to some sort of string of adventure and outdoors. And that's what I like to highlight with these guests, whether they're manufacturers, entrepreneurs, adventure seekers, outdoors people living the life. And I think that common thread of like adventure and outdoor, the love for the outdoors, is the common thread that kind of strings this whole podcast together. And today's episode is no different. And we'll get to our guest here shortly. And excited to share it. So thanks so much for joining me. Hope you guys had a good Easter. Hope you guys were able to get out there, maybe. Weather's been kind of crazy here in California, but I know some people have been getting out there camping. And I'm saddened to hear that the recent storms have closed down Big Sur as far as the near future is concerned. And I had dreams of taking my family down there shortly here, soon. And with the road kind of getting washed out, that's a no-go. So kind of a reminder that I should have just done it a long time ago. I should have just done it when I could. But our time will come, so I'm not worried about it. But I do think maybe I should have just done a quick sporadic weekend trip down there like I had planned a couple times and just didn't get around to because of life in the way. But that's okay. So hopefully you guys are getting out there and enjoying it. Take advantage of the time that you can go and make those memories. I saw something on Instagram the other day. It's like your family doesn't remember screen time, but they'll remember going out to the outdoors. And it's kind of corny and chintzy, but yeah, I totally agree. It's all about those memories you make outside that count and living, going out on those adventures, whatever they may be. So good reminder for me to stay up on that. So yeah, this community, we have tons of awesome people in the community that are making campers, living the life, and today's guest is no different. I'd like to welcome here shortly one of the founding members of Tune Outdoors, Sean. He's going to be on our podcast here. I'm sure you've seen a lot about these campers, and I was curious what sets Tune apart from your other, pop-up style bed rail camper. And after doing some research and digging in and talking to Sean, it's pretty cool to see what these guys are doing differently and how they kind of view the space and how they take some of these design and philosophical features into their campers to make them seem more open, durable, and customizable to fit any truck. So I'm excited for you guys to learn more about Tune Outdoors as I was. And we'll get to that here in a second. But before we hop into that podcast, I do want to thank one of our supporters of the channel, Poseidon Bicycles. I've been rocking my hardtail through some pretty aggressive stuff, and it's been handling it really well. It's been super fun to explore the local trails, meet some new people, and kind of have that extension of the small truck campers mindset of just getting out there and exploring and living it up. So I would highly recommend, if you guys don't have a bicycle, like get a bicycle, throw it in the back of the camper, throw it on top, throw it on the side, tow it, whatever you need to do. But having a bicycle is just an awesome way to kind of expand your small truck campers experience. And if you're looking for a price point friendly bicycle, I've had two of these Redwoods, or I've had two Poseidon bicycles, the Redwood and now the Norton. And if the price point friendly, they ship to your door almost pre-assembled, and they're great, durable, price point friendly bicycles, and they're hooking up you guys with a discount code. Use code Small Truck Campers at checkout and receive $100 off a bike. And the bikes are already fairly priced, so that's at least 10% off right there. So check them out. In other news too, this is kind of big news, I guess. I bought some Descend on Bend tickets, so I'm stoked. We're gonna be rocking the camper up there. I go up there for the weekend. I got like the maker pass, so I can have a little booth set up. And I'm looking forward to that weekend. That's all the way in September, but already looking forward to that. and I'm going to bring some merchandise with me. I'm going to bring the podcast recording stuff, and I'm looking forward to just a really fun weekend up there. I don't think it's near Bend this year. It's near some river kind of southwest of Portland, but that should be a good event. And one of my goals this year was to do some sort of expo, attend some sort of event in the camping space, and just see some familiar faces and meet a bunch of new ones and just have a good time. So I think now's the time. Things are aligning, and I missed those trips to Big Sur, and I was like, you know what? I've been talking about trying to go do something, and I was like, boom, I'm buying tickets. Like, that's it. But I'm excited. It should be a good time. Should be a really good time. And other than that, I think we'll just get straight into this podcast. So my guest today is Sean, one of the founders of Tune Outdoors, and we talk a lot about his background. I didn't know much about him or the company prior to this conversation, but in doing so and chatting to him, we uncovered quite a detailed resume and other factors, as well as a solid resume of companies he's worked for, including Reef, The North Face, and Crocs. And it's interesting to see his take and his position on the camper space with that analytical experience background. This is going to be a great adventure. There's a lot of entrepreneurial lessons in here, and there's a lot of travel stories, and there's just a lot of cool knowledge in this episode. So without further ado, I would love to welcome our guest, Sean, one of the founders of Tune Outdoors, on the podcast. Calling in live Denver, Colorado right now, and how's the weather out there today?
Fantastic. It's a classic front range day of blue skies, crisp air, snow on the mountain peaks. So it's pretty normal for March.
Awesome. It sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. And Sean, so I want to obviously get into the company, the production, what set you guys apart, all that stuff. But I'm curious to learn a little bit about yourself as well, how
Okay.
you got into camp, where you grew up. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing with me and our listeners as well, where you grew up and kind of your introduction into the outdoor space. Did you have campers growing up, and how that segued into being involved in campers? And we'll get into all the little steps along the way.
Sounds great. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and had divorced parents. So my dad actually lived here in Colorado. So my first experiences were backpacking in the front range. Those were pretty impactful. I really liked being outside. Started getting into the same in Oregon, and I started skiing at a very young age. So a lot of time in the mountains during the winter. Went to UC Berkeley in the Bay Area and started both skiing and backpacking in the Sierra. And that really blew my mind. So beautiful range, beautiful place. And I was hooked at that point. But I was playing team sports. So it really wasn't until I went back to business school and I took an internship with Nike working in the ACG, which was their outdoor group, and was exposed to rock climbing. And that really changed my life. So once I started doing technical rock, the nature becomes your playground. And I was smitten at
Wow,
that point.
that's amazing. So you went to Berkeley. What did you get your undergrad degree in from Berkeley?
I got a dual major in history and economics.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Specifically, what period of history?
I primarily looked at modern 20th and 21st century history. Did
Okay.
a lot of work on social history, why people do what they do, and tried to tie it into economics. So it was a cool
Yeah,
meeting.
that's really cool. And what year did you graduate from UC Berkeley?
I got out of Cal in 1986.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
So you're hanging around from Portland, hanging
Yep.
around Berkeley for college, start getting into backpacking, hitting up the Sierra Nevadas right there in the backyard, about 2 hours away. And then where did you get your master's degree from? And what was that
Uh,
in?
First, I got a degree in law at
Oh, wow.
UCLA, and I
Oh,
practiced
really?
law in Portland, which is my hometown. Had a great job, but I really didn't like being an attorney. Um, Too much time sitting, too much conflict, and at that point, I switched directions. I took a job with UNHCR, which is the Refugee Organization of the United Nations, and I moved to Geneva, Switzerland, and practiced as a refugee lawyer for that organization. I think I made the change to go to Geneva and work for UNHCR because there's so many people in the world who are moving from culture to culture because they're being persecuted. And that's a really important thing for people to understand. There are economic migrants, but there are real refugees and a lot of them out there. What I did was I was a refugee training officer, and we did we trained government officials to apply international law properly to refugee status determination. So at that time, Russia had was created out of the Soviet Union. So there were a number of independent states, and Yugoslavia had broken up. There were people flowing all over Europe, and the government simply didn't know how to deal with it. Right. So similar to
Yeah.
what's happening now, people just got thrown into detention. Right. You're taking a family that's fleeing somewhere for their ethnicity, their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, and throwing them in jail, basically. And we wanted to improve that experience for people. I
You
spent
were
3 years on that, and it was pretty impactful for me. And then
wow.
started applying to business school and got a scholarship to go to Thunderbird in Arizona. And that was a great school, international business program. Really started looking at my interests in business, including the outdoors, and got exposed to Arizona, which is an incredibly beautiful state.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite the resume there. And when you were attending international business, attending school in Arizona, were you able to travel at all through that program? I know sometimes they have internships abroad.
Yeah, a little bit. I mostly just jammed it out, and I took a job with the North Face right after I got out and started working. And at that point, they were still privately held. They had moved from public to private and were headquartered in Carbondale, Colorado. So I moved to Carbondale and went through some pretty rough transitions with that company, but that's where I really sunk my teeth into the outdoor industry.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
following,
And
yeah, following Carbondale, they were purchased by Vanity Fair, which is the owner of the North Face now, and I moved back to the Bay Area to work for them.
okay. Okay, wow. So a lot of really good experience leading up to where you're at now. And I'm sure there's so much to those stories just between the different schools you went to, Switzerland, all these amazing experiences. But so you're in now you're in the Bay Area working for the North Face. They just got privately held from a public
Uh,
company, now they're private. And at this point, are you still going out hiking and backpacking, or are you more tied to the desk?
no, I'm still getting out, especially skiing,
Ok
backpacking. I had two young daughters at that point, so a lot of time in the gym, climbing, occasional trips up to Yosemite, which is a amazing place, world class climbing and some of the most incredible scenery and just feel in the world. So good years. Once Vanity Fair about the company, then I expanded my role and I started working with a number of different outdoor brands. So Vanity Fair kind of moved from an intimates and jeanswear brand into the outdoor space and started buying other brands. Napapiri, they had Vans at the time. Sorry, not Vans. They had Jansport at the time. They ended up buying Vans, and I got to work with other brands. When they purchased Reef, I moved down to San Diego and I was the first person they threw in there to run operations. That was a great experience. Absolutely got my butt kicked by surfing with world
n
class surfers. Um,
yeah.
Interesting stuff. And then just to round it out, my partner at the time and I decided to buy an Airstream and stop working and travel the US with our kids. And we did that, hung out with all the people we knew from the outdoor industry. And I got recruited by Crocs here in Denver. So ended up coming full circle back here where I also had friends.
Wow. So you and your partner, get the Airstream, and you're towing this thing around, you got your 2 daughters. How long are you guys doing this on the road lifestyle before you start working for Crocs? I'm sure there's some time there. So where were you guys going and doing, and how was that experience just in a nutshell?
Sure. We beelined from up to Oregon from San Diego to drop off animals and plants with our families. And then from there, we went straight across to Philadelphia, where my brother was graduating from college. went to his graduation, and then we worked our way from the Gunks down through the eastern seaboard and down into the southeast. Went climbing all along the way. We went through Arkansas and then back up through the southeast to Colorado. So I think we spent approximately 4.5 months on the road. And that was my
Wow.
first real using a camper experience. Great fun.
Yeah. Amazing. And I'm seeing the theme here, like the kind of the hub of all this is rock climbing, is trying to get out there and rock climb. Obviously, spending time with the family, taking the Airstream, but that's like the activity that is always in the back of your mind when you're doing these moves or doing these adventures. Is that's the activity you're taking with you through this camper experience and other experiences is rock climbing, and I'm sure that plays a role into how we get into tune outdoors. So I'm
For
excited
sure.
to see that. Oh,
It's one of those activities that's all consuming. For certain people, it catches that place in their brain. Like surfing, like skiing, it takes a long time to get good at it. It takes a long time to train your body and train your mind to do it. It's a form of meditation, really nice form.
yeah, that's incredible. That's awesome. So now you find yourself back in Denver working for Crocs. I heard
Yep.
something so funny the other day. Someone's like, "Hey man, I heard you're taking my job." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "Just like it's big Crocs to fill. I hope you're up for the challenge." I'm like, "All right, yeah, big Crocs to fill. That's the new one."
Yeah, it's good.
I was like, "I think I can fill them Crocs." So that's awesome. How was working for Crocs and what was that all like? How long was that for? And that's just such a unique company. So
Yeah, it's
identifiable, but unique in their product.
Yeah, it's been about a decade, almost a decade with Crocs. It was good. Not an easy working environment. Interesting product. The thing that I really liked about it and what drew it together with the other products I worked with is that the customers of Crocs feel incredibly passionate about the product, whether it's, I'll start on the extreme, but a diabetic with foot problems who gains massive amounts of comfort and capability with that product to people who saw it as their own version of a fashion statement. Most people had strong opinions. I really felt that was a brand that helped me to really understand what it means to connect with the consumer.
That's interesting. So you got to learn your customer really well
Yeah.
and learn identify your customer. So all these little tools you're taking with you, and I'm excited to see how they pan out with your current endeavors. How do we jump? What year is this around? You said you were there for a decade. So what time did you finish up with Crocs?
So I moved to Europe and took my family and ran operations for the European operation of Crocs out of Leiden, which is a suburb of Amsterdam. And that was a great experience. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed being back in Europe. It was a life changing experience for my kids. I got to explore and enjoy the natural world in Europe, which is different. Certainly, there's a lack of public lands in Europe. Most lands are privately held. And that helped me to form some pretty strong opinions about the value of public lands in the US and the importance of sustaining that public ownership. So really enjoyed that. Came back really just tired of big corporations and high growth. I'd been in the same types of heavy growth models with the North Face, with Reef, and then with Crocs, and just pretty much constant grow with the intensity of a public corporation and a lot of management levels. I stopped that sort of phase of my life and started working with some entrepreneurial ventures, both in outdoor and in the cannabis industry, because it just opened up in Colorado and was pretty exciting and interesting and also difficult. Played around in those, didn't find sort of the thing that was going to go. And then started working in some other capacities with one of my partners too. And he and his partner at the time in a design company came with the idea of Tune M1, and we started working on that. And that was 2021.
Okay. So you how are you familiar with this coming from a footwear outdoor athletic background, we'll say, in terms of your working career? How did you identify the camper space because they occupy two different markets in my mind, especially coming from the footwear outdoor world to the kind of dabbling in these entrepreneurial ventures. How did you link up with the Tune guys, and what did you see that kind of made it go, aha, this is worth looking into?
Well, I really respect Chris and Ryan who came to me with that idea. And I just put on my experience hat and started working on business plan, right? So a core part of that was not only investigating the space and the market, the competitors, the product, but also understanding the consumer, right? One of the early things we did when we decided we wanted to go forward and we had some designs was start focus grouping with consumers who own campers about what they want in a lightweight backcountry pickup camper. And that's a pretty orthodox, fundamental way of starting a business. And that's really what we did. The other side of this is we had made some pretty unique, innovative industrial design choices in our product. And we knew that we needed some investment to pull this off. So all of that sort of orthodox process led into the investment tools to gain some other people on our team. So
I see. So at this time, it wasn't a product yet, it was just an idea, and they came to you as the experienced business leader, and essentially you followed a very orthodox plan that you learn in business school, which is like a SWOT analysis, market analysis, identify your customer, and it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to see some side of the spectrum here, especially with different people in the space that either just go for it in their garage, and then you're taking this very analytical, proven approach that has worked numerous times.
we
Um,
did both. We tried to combine, and it's not just B school, although it's not some of that in B school. It's really after business school. Same tools are being used in public companies all over the US. As soon as companies get big, they start taking very fundamentally orthodox approaches to brand extension and growth and where to put their resources.
I
So
see.
very similar concepts. When we started that, we brought in another one of our founders, Bruno McGowan. He started Backcountry Access. So he had already run the entrepreneurial gauntlet and had some really great input as well. It was a team effort all the way. So we combined fundamental business approach with really heavy product design and development. And
It
those were our drivers.
awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's a good recipe. So, this
Working
is
so
2020.
far. It's early.
So far the light, yeah, keeping the lights on and the doors, the employees coming in on, this is like 21 right during or right before during COVID area, and the space is just prime for explosion because you have people with some money, people sitting at home, and people wanting to go outdoors because that's the only thing you could do at the time. So talk me through did you have a product by this point, or was it still a concept?
No, it started as a concept, right? And the primary driver was just comfort in the backcountry, right? I'd spent a lot of time in the backcountry and in the airstream, small spaces. Am I comfortable? Am I not? How does it work best? Lots of nights in tents trying to get into the backcountry to do rock. And Chris and then Brock, who we'd also brought in, he's a really talented engineer, and Bruno and Ryan, we all felt like the offerings in the marketplace left opportunities for innovation, right? Really just product innovation. So we started there looking for product that was lighter weight, potentially had more space and more comfortable space than what was in the marketplace. All of this didn't feel completely comfortable in what's known as a wedge camper, simply because the space is not easy to utilize, right? You have to take apart your sleeping space in order to stand up in mini wedges. And it's hard in the mornings. You just want a cup of coffee and you want to get out to the crag. And it just doesn't flow quite as nicely as we thought we could improve that user experience.
Okay, so that's the market gap that you identified that you wanted to get into, is the opportunity for more of a similar compactness, but more comfort, and maybe using some more innovative technologies to improve the user experience. And you felt like the needs weren't being met in the space at that time.
Yeah. People are meeting the lightweight need, so we wanted to try and match that. And then it just improved the use of the camper itself, make it a little more adaptable to changes in weather and couples and cooking and living if need be.
I see. At this point, who are your kind of competitors in this space that were already established? Immediately, it's Go Fast, four wheel campers. Was there any other competitors that you guys were seeing in there that were occupying the space?
Everybody in the space is good. And the first thing I'll say about any competitor is if they're solvent and making it in this space, they're doing really good things. But the other brands that we really looked at and earmarked to be able to compete with them were Overland and Super Pacific. Really good camper brands. There's been other people who've come into the space since. Topo makes good products. Love Peak is doing really interesting things in both product and marketing. So it is somewhat crowded space, we think, but it's also really growing. Plenty of room for everyone.
Agree. Yeah, that's been my observation as well. I agree. And I think, yeah, it's healthy competition, it's friendly competition, and it's really spurring some cool innovation. So, what would you say sets Tune Outdoors apart from, say, the Go Fast or the Topo or the Super Pacific campers out there? What's your differentiator?
Sure. First thing is that we just create more internal space. We have a wing wall design. All of our aluminum extrusions are custom. What we get out of that aluminum structure is unique and different. Every piece of aluminum is T-tracked so that users have, it's like an open book. They can do whatever they want with the product, which is unique. We don't have any welding in our product. It's all bolted. So we use polymer quarter brackets, which were quite expensive to develop, but they created just some unique attributes about how the product's put together, the strength of the product. The polymer is stronger than aluminum when we test them together and gives it a unique look. Some of the aesthetics that we came out with are unique and our customers like how the product looks, how it feels from the inside. We also tried to create a real sense of space from the interior looking out. So we have six pretty large windows in our canopy. We have full span glass in our body panels. And those two things certainly create a different feel from the inside.
Yeah, I think that to me is what strikes the biggest difference is seeing those beautiful photos of the truck in the outdoors with a huge sheet of glass window on the side of it where it'd normally be metal or aluminum. And it's like futuristic, kind of like 2001 Space Odyssey looking. It's really cool looking with that stark glass. And I can only imagine the views from the inside having that visibility. So when you're out there enjoying the outdoors, whatever it be at the mountains, the rock, at the beach, having that panoramic view is just, it must create such a sense of openness within the unit. That's an innovative thing for sure.
Yeah, I've got some amazing design and develop talent in the company. Chris and Brock are top notch.
Yeah.
We've executed a lot of things that we worked in very fundamental orthodox ways. Test, retest, design, test, retest. And we continue to do that, right? There's any innovation has a lot of risk. Things happen that you don't expect. And you have to really pivot quickly and figure out how to address it. And Bruno's experience with backcountry access has helped us dramatically as well, since he's been through that in innovating snow sports products like both beacons and avalanche chutes in the backcountry skiing industry. And I also worked quite a lot with innovation at the North Face.
Yeah. So we're used to moving fast, breaking things, testing new ideas, and putting them through the ringer.
Yeah.
So
How do you make sure what's the design process? When is it good?
awesome.
When is it good enough? That's what we hopefully we have a decent feel for, right? You're always trying to improve your product and you're always innovative, but there comes a time when you have to do it. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So who would you identify, especially I'm excited to ask you this question with all your experiences. Who is your kind of customer? Like who is your ideal customer and what are they looking for in your product that or what are they looking for that would make your product better for them than maybe something like an overland or a wedge style camper? I'm just curious like who your customer is.
that's a really good question. We initially we defined a very specific customer, but I think the reality of who's come to our brand is it goes across the spectrum, right? From very young to very old, and single men, single women, families. We've got families of 5 implementing the interior of the tune to handle 3 kids. So we've backed away from that and focused pretty dramatically on the experience itself and outdoor enthusiasts. While the activity of both certainly relates to our product, we've more focused on why you overland. Some people overland for the experience of driving, the visions, the vistas, the risk of getting into interesting places with their rigs, but a dramatic number of people going to the backcountry to meditate in activity, right? To do things, bring them just immense pleasure and to be in the natural world.
Awesome. Yeah, 100. I mean, you get in there to escape, to go live your life and find yourself and just be at peace. So
That's what we've focused on now. I had a guy call me this week. He said to me, I'm 27 and I'm ready to get out and start doing my thing in the natural world. And it's exactly what we are. Right. And I found that really interesting.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you do you find that the rig is capable of long term people that are people? Let me ask you this question: people that are buying your campers, do you find them more of like a weekend warrior crowd, or are you finding some people that are actually doing it full time out of these campers?
Yeah. It's both. Right. Both extremes are covered. We've got people. I had a guy yesterday who came in and put down a deposit, and he was going from the north of Alaska, touching the sea at the north of Alaska to Patagonia. And that was his adventure. We briefed the camper for a 4-day weekend, right? 2 people on a combined mountain biking climbing trip. Where do they put their gear? How do they live in it? How do they interact? That was our vision based on sort of the minimalist, modular, configurable approach we took to it. It's working for different types of users.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. In terms of production and build outs, are you offering what size truck beds are you guys offering campers for? Or are they custom made each one so you can configure each camper to a specific truck bed?
In terms of industrial design, that was one of the very innovative things we did is it is custom to every truck. So we tried to design it so that we could customize our parts and fit the truck exactly. There's 3 key dimensions that we're working with. It's bed width, bed length, and cab height. And then everything fits around that.
Awesome.
So I think that's one thing people really like. The downside of it we found, and I just mentioned this because it's one of those things you don't think about when you're designing a company, but people are asking a lot of questions. Well, I have a 2012 Tundra and I'm going to upgrade to a new Tundra at some point, but will the 2012 fit the 2025? Right. And uniquely, the Tundra might be one that it works on, but most trucks, it doesn't. Right.
Yeah.
And when you customize that much and it fits perfectly, it doesn't necessarily move from truck very well.
Yeah. That's okay though. A lot of people upgrade over time and I've always said you gotta find the camper you want for life, but the camper that's gonna be good for the next 2 to 3 years because most likely your needs or your interests will change after that time
I
and,
agree. Yeah.
upgrade
You
the
you have
upgrade the
to make
camper or whatever.
choices. Yeah, you have to make choices. Sure.
Yeah. Now in terms of production, what's your lead time looking, and is most of the work done in-house in the facility, or how do you guys piece these things together?
We have 30,000 square feet at our Dahlia Street facility in Denver. So we've got space, includes our office, and we're doing all of our production there. It's light manufacturing, right? Because a we have exceptional aluminum fabricators doing our custom aluminum. It goes through molds and gets sent to us. We have injectors doing our polymer quarter brackets. We buy our fiberglass reinforced polypropylene from people who build that. So we bring the materials in and then we cut and assemble and customize on site.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. That's really cool. I recently saw, was it Outside Magazine ranked you guys as the number 1 camper? I think that was last year in 2023.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're happy with our review.
Yeah, I didn't look at the review, I didn't look at the magazine, but I saw the headline that you guys were ranked number 1. What do you think they saw that made them choose you guys as number 1, when evaluating all these different brands?
Well, you have to read the article.
Yeah, I guess
Right.
so.
But I know the guy who wrote that article and used our camper for an extended period. Big hunter, big outdoorsman, and he just loved the product. He loved how it worked, functions. We've had a number of reviewers really take our product to town and put it through the test. And people like how it feels, right? They like the space. They like how it feels to wake up in and function in. And I think that's a really important thing. Feeling is key, right? How it affects you emotionally is really what it is to someone.
Yeah, agreed, totally agree. It's like when you buy a surfboard, you can look at the dimensions all day long, but if it feels good under your arm, it, like, doesn't even matter what the dimensions are. You just gotta feel it and make sure it's a good fit for yourself, just
Exactly.
like how you pick it up. And, speaking of getting to know your campers a little bit more, I'm out here on the West Coast near the Bay Area. Do you guys have a dealer network, or are you solely in-house? So how could someone like myself see one of these things in real life?
Great question. We've done two things. One, we have an amazing community. I haven't spoken about the innovation that we've tried to bring to service. And really, I don't know how innovative it is, but we have an old school approach to it. We try and really connect with everyone who comes to our company. This is a product that creates experiences and it creates shared experiences between people. So we've tried to capitalize on that. So the first thing we do when someone calls from a market where we're not present is we call one of our community members, basically an owner, and ask them to show the product. And that does a couple things, right? First, creates a very credible and authentic feedback loop for the potential buyer. But second, it allows the person who's in our community to really express what that product means to them. And certainly we take a flyer doing that because not everyone likes our product, but that's part of going into business, right? We're comfortable with that. And that's what we'll continue to do. So, one, we utilize our community. Second, we are opening what we call an affiliate network. So, we're picking some partners to do installs for us and to sell our product. We basically work with them to get a Tune M1 into their shop so they can show it. And then, so we'll do something similar to what GoFast is doing, where we'll try and ship a full truck or a full semi pre-assembled to the location of the affiliate, and then the install can happen there.
Yeah. So I think fostering that, I like to think of the gold standard for a community is like the Volkswagen bus community,
Yeah,
in terms of identifying each other, waving to each other, helping each other out on the road. That's like the gold standard. But that's interesting to think about using this kind of in-house community approach to get the product out there, aside from word of mouth, but actually linking up people with that are owners with potential buyers. And I mean, what better way to check out a camper? I don't want to drive to Sacramento and go look at RVs, but I'd love to go to Yosemite or down to the beach and meet up with an owner and just grab some waves and then check out their rig. I think that's a super cool way to keep the momentum of the brand going and keep the cohesiveness of the customer base.
for sure. You walk into this kind of space and it's not really clear what type of marketing will work, right? But in a world of social media where half of the people talking about product are getting paid by the product owner, the most credibility is with the true consumer, right? And so we've also tried to not pay people to use our product. We've been very careful about that. We want as much as we can to make sure that people who are looking at us and reviewing us are independent.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, not being paid to advertise here, but yeah, I
Correct.
think authenticity is what comes to mind in terms of user base and experiences and customer base. Looking for that authentic kind of customer.
For
And
sure.
if you have a good enough product, word of mouth will spread, and that's how I figured out about you guys was just through seeing photos of people using the product and stuff. I got two more questions here for you. You mentioned innovation a lot. So, what kind of innovation are you looking towards the future in order to stay competitive, or what kind of new products do you envision producing to stay competitive with trends you're seeing now?
Really good question. First off, we have no idea what the demand ceiling of this product is, right? There seems to be so many people looking for that experience in the natural world right now based on social pressures and the way we're living. I think it's becoming a more and more important part of people's lives. So we'll continue to really look at that and try and capitalize on that and meet the consumer's need, right? So to that end, we'll continue to push the Tune M1 and make it the best product we can. We've started with a blank slate, a product that many do-it-yourself fanatics purchased and started changing and configuring to their own needs. And I think over time, we'll continue to add accessories to the tune that meet our design philosophy, configurable, modular, lightweight, aesthetic. Those are really the key things we're looking for. There's all kinds of interesting modularities out there now, and where we see one and we think we can improve, then we'll throw some resources at it and see what we can do. So I think there's a lot of space for us to move where we're at right now. I think downstream, there's a whole range of products in the what I call the vehicle based adventure space that we'll look at. And again, we'll look at the same way. Are there ways we can innovate and really bring value where the consumer would benefit and we can create community? We can ultimately support public lands and talk about public lands. We're looking forward to maturing into that space over time.
Awesome. So, taking a of obviously like a corporate social responsibility approach, but also a philanthropic approach to how you want to occupy this space in the future in terms of doing the right thing for the community, but also fostering that community to keep innovation going and ultimately keep the product line going.
Yeah. I mean, we want to go there, right? First of all, you have to make money to go there, right? You can't give
Yeah.
it away until you make. So we're still working at being profitable, running a profitable business. As we get there, we'll start talking about that message. It's a message we all like. It's an apolitical message, right? It's about the experience, and that's what we care about, right? That is something that we fear, that we feel really pretty fiercely about. That the only way our product works, the only way that that outdoor enthusiasts can get into their playgrounds is if those playgrounds are available.
Yeah. 100%. That's awesome, Sean. And obviously there's a lot of camper companies out there in Colorado, specifically around the Denver area. If someone was passing through the area, how do you guys feel about having people come through your office and check out the production facility and like just check it out? Are you guys pretty open door? Or are you guys pretty closed door?
Oh no, we're open door. We have a link on our website where people can make an appointment. And good to make an appointment simply because our trucks are getting used all the time. So we want to make sure we try and either show a mid-sized Tacoma or a full-size Raptor to the potential buyer, depending on what they ask. And we're happy to show it off. We're really proud of it.
Yeah, I bet. That's awesome. That's really cool. I want to thank you for taking the time. Do you have anything else you want to leave our listeners with before we wrap up this episode?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity. And we are our community. So I appreciate my partners, my employees, and all the people who are investing in us. It's a group effort. It's been good.
Totally. Yeah. Awesome, Sean. Well, I enjoyed having some morning coffee with you, listening more about your story and Tune Outdoors. I'll link all the info that we talked about down below in this description so our listeners can check out your Instagram, check out your website, and if they're in the Denver area, schedule an appointment to swing by and check out how Tune Outdoor Campers, the M1 is made. And can't wait to see what you guys come out with next and how the future unfolds for y'all.
Thanks, Spencer. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the
Yeah,
time.
my pleasure, Sean. All right, guys, that was episode 18 of the Small Tree Campers podcast. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sean. Some morning coffee. It was really good to have some coffee with him and discuss just background, academics, campers, travel, everything, entrepreneurship. business lessons. So cool. I hope you guys got something out of that podcast. As always, I definitely did. And link below to all the things we talked about. Tune Outdoors Instagram, their website. If you're in the Denver area, go check them out. They seem like a great company, and I'd love to go check them out one day in the future. Until then, guys, hopefully you're getting out there, having a good time camping or doing whatever you're doing. Just make sure you keep dreaming. Oops, sorry, I turned the fader down too soon. Just make sure you keep dreaming and scheming, and I'll see you on the next episode.